Alright, so today I'm going to attempt to show you the one direction, one correction method. This little guy is, big guy, is 7 months old, and he's not had entirely consistent training, so he's a good candidate for this. I've also got another German Shepherd in behind. Alright, so first we give the direction. So the direction is the command word. And then once we've given the direction, it can go one of two ways. A, the dog obeys and we praise. We say good plus the command word. So if we're saying sit, the command word is sit, and we say good, sit, and we praise the dog with physical affection if the dog is interested in that. If the dog does not obey, so that's option A. Option B is the dog does not obey, in which case we give a correction with either an word, or I like to use fooey it. That's just what I use with my dog. And at the same time as we're saying that word, we pop with the prong collar. So this guy is on a prong collar. That is what gives the correction. So we say or we say fooey it, whatever you're doing. So, shadow. Actually, before we do that, we've got 3 methods of communication with the dog. We have our verbals, which comes most naturally to us humans. We have our lead direction. So I can move this around and the dog will feel that direction without it actually being a correction. So that's another way that we can communicate. And then finally we have our body language. Now, today I'm going to be mainly using verbals and lead direction with Shadow. So, Shadow, sit. So right now this is lead direction, and he is not responding to this because, again, he's not had a whole lot of training. So, going to pull up even harder. Shadow, sit. Good, sit. And so when we're teaching a dog how to do a behavior, we're not actually going to correct for that ever. He does know the behavior, so I could have corrected there, but for illustration purposes, I'm just showing you what it's like when we're teaching the dog at the moment. So you saw me use lead direction by just pulling up, and now we are going to Shadow, leave it alone. Good, leave it. Shadow, down. Good, down. So again, just using that lead pressure to indicate what I would like him to do, just in case he's not understanding my verbals yet. Now, because I know he knows both of these commands, we're going to add in the one direction, one correction piece. So I'm going to give the direction once, and then if he obeys, I'm going to praise, and if he does not obey, then I'm going to correct. And it's very important for there to be no tension in this lead unless you are giving a direction or unless you are correcting. So, Shadow, sit. Sit. Good, sit. So there, I gave the command, he did not obey, so I paired the correction, the physical correction, with my word It's very important not to pair the physical correction with the command word, so I never want to correct at the same time as I'm saying sit. Shadow, down. Good, down. Good, down. And the benefit of doing this on a platform is that it adds a little bit of stress, and so the dogs are more likely to obey because it's less stressful to obey an obedience command than it is to pay attention to how high they are off the ground. And as you can see by where I'm standing, we're not actually that high. Alright, Shadow, sit. Sit. Good, sit. So as soon as I say the command again, and then he obeys, then I give him praise. So if the dog doesn't obey the command, then we start the whole process over again. It's command, dog doesn't obey, we give with a correction, and then we give the command again. And then the same process follows. If he was to disobey a second time, then it would be another correction, and we would give the command again until the dog obeys, and then we can praise him. Boy, Shadow. And Shadow, down. Good, down. Good. Shadow, sit. 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 every dog's going to be a bit different. Some dogs will prefer going into a down when they're elevated, and some dogs will prefer going into a sit. It just depends on your dog. This guy prefers going into a down. Shadow, sit. Good sit. Good sit. So that was the first time he's gone on the first command. Good job. Good sit. Good sit. All right, Shadow, down. Good, down. Down. Shadow, sit. Sit. Good, sit. Good. So that's the one direction, one correction method. Shadow, sit. Good, sit. Shadow, down. Good, down. And this also applies with your stay command. So if I was to tell him right here to stay, and then I walked away from him, if he broke that stay, I would come over, I would say, I would correct, and then I would put him back. I would give him the down command again. I would tell him to stay again, and then the whole process would repeat itself. So that's a lot of me talking. Hopefully that was helpful.